Samantha and Jason Hartley seemed like the perfect couple, charming, wealthy, and admired by everyone around them, but behind their flawless smiles hid a chilling secret, a meticulously planned murder-for-hire plot that would shatter their picture-perfect world and leave a community in shock. Samantha and Jason Hartley lived a life that seemed pulled straight from a magazine. Their sprawling suburban home gleamed with manicured lawns, colorful flower beds, and sleek cars parked in the driveway. Every weekend, their social media accounts were filled with carefully staged photos, brunches in sunlit cafes, walks along pristine beaches, and selfies taken in front of luxury cars. Friends and neighbors admired them, often commenting on their perfect chemistry and enviable lifestyle. To the outside world, they were a couple who had everything: success, beauty, charm, and seemingly unshakable happiness. People often whispered that they were the kind of couple who seemed destined for a storybook life, and few suspected there was anything lurking beneath their polished exterior. Behind closed doors, however, the Hartleys' life was far from serene. The smiling photos and glossy vacation snapshots masked long nights filled with tension, secretive phone calls, and arguments that never left the walls of their home. Samantha, with her flawless appearance and warm demeanor, carried an intensity that few saw. Her every move was calculated, her expressions carefully controlled to maintain the illusion of effortless charm. Jason, equally charismatic, had a habit of disappearing for hours under the guise of work meetings or errands, returning with vague explanations and an air of impatience. To anyone casually observing, these behaviors could be dismissed as minor quirks of a busy, ambitious couple. But beneath the surface, they hinted at something more deliberate, a carefully managed world that had little room for error or interference. The Hartleys' lives were meticulously curated, down to the smallest detail. Even their closest friends noticed how structured their schedules were, how nothing seemed spontaneous, and how every outing appeared designed for maximum visual impact. Birthdays, anniversaries, and social gatherings were documented in ways that highlighted style, success, and exclusivity, leaving observers with the impression that the Hartleys had mastered the art of living flawlessly. Yet the pressure to maintain this image was immense. Every post, every picture, and every interaction served as a reinforcement of their crafted persona. Any deviation, no matter how small, could threaten the world they had built and the admiration they craved. Despite the surface glamour, cracks were beginning to appear. Samantha often glanced over her shoulder when answering calls, and Jason's expressions sometimes flickered with frustration before being replaced by his usual charm. There were whispered conversations behind locked doors, hurried text messages that vanished before anyone could read them, and unexplained movements that suggested the Hartleys were involved in matters far more complicated than anyone realized. Their outwardly perfect life was starting to feel like a veneer stretched thin over something darker, a fragile shell hiding ambitions and fears that no one could see. The more they invested in their image, the more intense and obsessive their need for control became. Every photograph, every staged moment, and every smile was a carefully placed piece of a puzzle designed to hide the truth. The world saw Samantha and Jason as a model couple, living a life of elegance and sophistication. But in the shadows of that perfection, plans were forming. Plans that would not only shatter their image, but also expose the dangerous lengths to which they were willing to go to preserve it. The life of the Hartleys, so enviable on the surface, was teetering on the edge of a darkness that no one could have predicted, and the first signs of their true intentions were already beginning to emerge. Investigators first began noticing oddities when Samantha and Jason's financial records came under scrutiny. What appeared at first to be routine transactions quickly revealed a pattern of unexplained transfers to accounts with no clear connection. Large sums of money were moving in and out at irregular intervals, often under the cover of innocuous business dealings or vague personal expenses. Initially, these transactions could have been dismissed as eccentricities of a wealthy couple, but the frequency and method of movement suggested something far more calculated. Authorities began to suspect that someone else was involved, someone who acted as a middleman in a scheme carefully concealed from the public eye. The trail eventually led to a man named Victor, an unassuming figure who seemed to have no connection to the Hartleys at first glance. His background was sparse, consisting mostly of temporary jobs and minor criminal offenses, nothing that would hint at involvement with a couple who projected success and stability. However, encrypted messages uncovered by digital investigators revealed frequent coded communication between Victor and the Hartleys. Each message contained instructions, updates, and financial confirmations that painted a picture of premeditated coordination. The correspondence was meticulous, revealing both precision and an alarming willingness to cross moral and legal boundaries. It became evident that the Hartleys were orchestrating more than financial manipulation. They were plotting something far more sinister, a plan that required discretion and a network of accomplices. As investigators traced the communication further, the pattern of secrecy grew more disturbing. Every move the Hartleys made was calculated to appear normal while masking their true intentions. Texts were sent under aliases, phone calls were routed through multiple devices, and meetings with Victor were scheduled at locations designed to avoid surveillance. They maintained their polished public image while executing a series of steps that suggested a dangerous escalation in their behavior. Friends and neighbors who had once admired their diligence and charm began to realize how carefully the couple managed every aspect of their lives, leaving almost no trace for outsiders to follow. The sophistication of their planning implied not only intelligence but also a willingness to exploit the trust and familiarity of those around them. The investigators soon discovered that the Hartleys had chosen a target, someone who posed a threat to their carefully constructed life. Every action, every encrypted message, and every suspicious transfer of funds was aimed at neutralizing this threat without drawing attention to themselves. Surveillance and data analysis showed that they were monitoring their targets' routines, habits, and contacts, creating a comprehensive profile that could be used to control or manipulate the situation. The combination of meticulous research, financial maneuvering, and a networked accomplice revealed a level of planning that went far beyond simple criminal intent. The Hartleys' public image as a perfect couple had become a shield for a meticulously concealed, high-stakes scheme, one that authorities were only beginning to unravel. As the investigation deepened, it became increasingly clear that Samantha and Jason's life of glamour and sophistication was a carefully constructed illusion. Every smile they had shared, every post on social media, and every appearance in public had been part of a strategy to deflect suspicion. Behind the veneer of perfection, they were operating with cold precision, manipulating people, money, and information to achieve an end that remained hidden from view. What had once seemed like minor financial oddities was now recognized as the tip of a dangerous and calculated plot, one that could destroy lives if left unchecked. The Hartleys' facade was cracking, and each revelation brought investigators closer to exposing the true extent of their ambition and their willingness to cross the line between desire and deadly intent. The focus of the investigation soon turned to Ethan Ward, a former business partner whose growing suspicions threatened to unravel everything the Hartleys had built. Ethan had once been a trusted collaborator, involved in joint ventures that appeared lucrative on the surface, but over time he began noticing discrepancies in financial reports and inconsistencies in the couple's explanations. Small questions escalated into persistent inquiries, and what had started as routine checks turned into a dangerous probing that made the Hartleys uneasy. Their carefully controlled world, built on appearances and calculated manipulation, was suddenly at risk of exposure. Samantha and Jason recognized the threat Ethan posed and began taking steps to neutralize it. They had spent years constructing an image of trustworthiness, and any revelation could destroy not only their social standing, but also their financial security. The couple's planning became increasingly secretive, involving encrypted communications and covert meetings with Victor. They documented Ethan's routines, monitored his movements, and created detailed reports on his habits. Even casual interactions and seemingly ordinary trips were tracked to ensure that no opportunity was missed. Every decision was guided by the singular goal of maintaining control, and every action taken was calculated to avoid detection. Victor, the intermediary, became an essential part of the plan. He followed Ethan discreetly, noting patterns and reporting back to the Hartleys with meticulous updates. Surveillance cameras, hidden GPS devices, and other tools of modern tracking were deployed with precision. The layers of planning suggested a methodical, almost obsessive approach, where no detail was too small to be considered. Meanwhile, Samantha and Jason continued to present themselves as a perfect couple in public, attending social events, posting curated images online, and maintaining interactions with friends and neighbors as if nothing unusual was happening. This duality created a chilling contrast, a couple whose life appeared idyllic, while simultaneously orchestrating actions that crossed into criminal intent. As investigators pieced together evidence, it became clear that the Hartleys' obsession with control had reached a dangerous level. Their desire to protect their lifestyle and image had shifted from mere secrecy into active manipulation and intimidation. Ethan Ward had become a target not because of personal animosity, but because his curiosity threatened to expose a carefully constructed reality. The meticulous documentation of his routines, the tracking of his movements, and the encrypted messages sent to Victor revealed a level of premeditation that made the situation more alarming with each discovery. The Hartleys were no longer just a deceptive couple. They were architects of a scheme designed to eliminate threats with precision. The tension in their home grew as the plan advanced. Despite outward appearances of normalcy, the couple was consumed by the logistics of their plot. Every decision involved weighing the risk of exposure against the need to maintain their facade. The more they invested in secrecy, the higher the stakes became and the more ruthless their actions appeared. Each step taken against Ethan Ward was calculated, deliberate, and designed to ensure that their perfect image remained untarnished. It was a dangerous game of shadows, where a single misstep could unravel years of deception. The Hartleys' obsession with maintaining their life of perfection had led them down a path where trust, morality, and legality were secondary to control. The investigators, following the trail of financial transactions, surveillance, and encrypted communications, were beginning to understand the full scope of the danger. Samantha and Jason's obsession had created a scenario where appearances and reality existed in stark opposition, and the consequences of their actions were poised to shock everyone who had ever believed in the couple's flawless image. Despite their meticulous planning, cracks began to appear in the Hartleys' scheme, small oversights that would prove to be their undoing. Victor, the man they had relied on to carry out their plan, was less disciplined than they believed. He made subtle mistakes, missed deadlines, forgotten codes, and careless handling of communication that left traces for investigators to follow. A single unencrypted message sent from a burner phone, a hotel receipt with a name that could be linked to him, and a surveillance camera that had captured him entering a building all provided tangible breadcrumbs. These tiny errors, almost imperceptible at the time, created a chain of evidence that slowly began to unravel the intricate web Samantha and Jason had spun. Authorities were relentless in piecing together the network connecting the Hartleys to Victor and their intended target. Financial records, once appearing innocuous, now revealed repeated transfers that matched the timing of Victor's movements. Digital forensics uncovered encrypted messages and deleted communications, exposing the instructions given to Victor with chilling clarity. The plot, which had seemed invisible behind a facade of wealth and charm, was slowly emerging in the light of investigation. Each discovery painted a picture of premeditation, control, and cold calculation. What had been hidden behind glossy social media posts and perfectly arranged photos was now laid bare, exposing the Hartleys' willingness to cross moral boundaries to protect their image. Samantha and Jason's once flawless public life began to unravel under scrutiny. Friends and neighbors who had admired their composure and success started noticing inconsistencies. The couple's carefully maintained schedule, once a symbol of diligence, now seemed suspiciously rigid. Their social media posts, designed to reinforce the image of perfection, began to take on an eerie undertone in light of the emerging investigation. Each polished photograph became a reminder of the stark contrast between appearance and reality, of the dangerous obsession lying beneath the surface. The Hartleys had created a life that was unsustainable. The effort to maintain control had made their collapse inevitable. Surveillance footage captured their last frantic movements, providing investigators with critical insights into their state of mind and intentions. Every meeting, every financial transfer, every carefully orchestrated interaction was examined in painstaking detail. It became clear that Samantha and Jason were not acting impulsively. They were operating with deliberate precision, executing a plan that had been meticulously constructed over months. Yet the very complexity of their scheme had left them vulnerable. In attempting to control every variable, they had created a trail that could not remain hidden indefinitely. As the net tightened, the Hartleys' tension and desperation became palpable. Their actions, once executed with confidence and cold detachment, now reflected a growing awareness of exposure. Investigators could see the strain in their movements, the hurried attempts to cover tracks, and the increasing recklessness in communication. The perfect life they had projected was collapsing under the weight of their own ambition, revealing a darker reality that no social media filter could conceal. Their meticulous world, built on control, manipulation, and deception, was beginning to disintegrate, and with every passing day, the gap between appearance and truth widened. The cracks in their plans signaled the approaching end of their deception. Each small mistake by Victor, each trace left behind, and each piece of financial or digital evidence brought the investigators closer to uncovering the Hartleys' plot. The couple's obsession with maintaining their picture-perfect life had blinded them to the vulnerabilities inherent in their scheme. What had begun as a calculated plan to neutralize a threat was now spiraling toward exposure, and the seemingly untouchable Hartleys were on a collision course with justice, unaware that their meticulously crafted facade was about to shatter completely. The culmination of the investigation came on a rainy evening when law enforcement moved decisively to arrest Samantha and Jason Hartley. Their world, once so carefully curated, collapsed in a matter of hours. Police surveillance had monitored their movements for weeks, analyzing patterns, communications, and financial activity. Every detail of their day-to-day life had been documented and cross-referenced, leaving investigators with a precise understanding of their routines. When officers approached their home, the couple's composure cracked. The poised, charming personas that had captivated friends, family, and neighbors melted away, replaced by visible tension and unease. Their carefully constructed image could no longer shield them from the consequences of their actions. Inside the Hartleys' home, evidence of the plot was undeniable. Financial records meticulously linked to Victor outlined payments and instructions, encrypted messages revealed premeditated plans, and surveillance notes detailed the tracking of Ethan Ward. Forensic analysis confirmed that these records were authentic and connected the couple directly to a conspiracy to commit murder. Investigators realized that what had appeared at first to be a minor financial anomaly was, in reality, the backbone of a highly calculated and dangerous scheme. The chilling realization that Samantha and Jason had used their intelligence, charm, and social influence to orchestrate such a plot left authorities stunned. The arrest shocked friends, family, and the wider community. People who had admired the Hartleys' seemingly perfect life were forced to confront the reality of deception and ambition taken to deadly extremes. Neighbors recalled smiling faces and polite greetings that had concealed manipulation and obsession. Social media followers, once captivated by luxurious vacations and curated photographs, now saw those posts in a chilling new light, evidence of a facade designed to deflect suspicion. The life the Hartleys had built, celebrated for its elegance and sophistication, was revealed as a calculated illusion masking dark intentions. Samantha and Jason faced questioning and eventual indictment on charges of conspiracy and solicitation of murder. Each step of the investigation, from financial trails to encrypted communications, strengthened the case against them. Their carefully orchestrated defense of appearances could not withstand the weight of physical evidence and digital records. Prosecutors highlighted the cold precision with which the couple had planned their scheme, emphasizing that the image of a picture-perfect life had been used as both a shield and a weapon. Every photograph, every social media post, every public appearance had contributed to a narrative designed to mislead and manipulate, a narrative that had now been stripped away. The story of Samantha and Jason Hartley became a stark lesson in the danger of obsession, deception, and the lengths some will go to protect appearances. Their downfall illustrated how a life meticulously constructed for admiration could conceal a darkness capable of harming others. The arrest, the exposure of their plot, and the subsequent legal proceedings revealed the fragile line between perception and reality, showing that the pursuit of perfection at any cost can lead to devastating consequences. The couple's legacy, once filled with envy and admiration, became a cautionary tale of ambition, corrupted, trust betrayed, and the dangerous illusion of control. The community and those who had once believed in their flawless image were left grappling with the uncomfortable truth. The Hartleys' life had never been perfect, and the facade they maintained had almost destroyed everything in its shadow.